The U.S. Army has fired an Army Tactical Missile System, or Army ATACMS, in Australia for the first time. The launch was part of the Talisman Sabre 23 large-scale exercise going on currently in that country. Viewers may note that a total of 30,000 personnel from 13 nations in total are taking part in the overall exercise, which began on July 22nd. This is the 10th iteration of Talisman Sabre, a biennial event that started in 2005 and was originally just a U.S. Australia affair. A press statement earlier issued by Australian Defence Department stated, "The U.S. firepower consisted of M142 High-Mobility Rocket Artillery System, HIMARS, and M777A2 howitzers, with an aerial assault from the F-35B Lightning II, AC-130, AH-1 Viper, and the AH-1 Super Cobra. The firing provides a glimpse of the future as the Australian Armed Forces is poised to acquire this potent weapon. In this video, Defense Updates analyzes why the first ever firing of Army ATACMS in Australia is a message China can't ignore. Let's get started. As per reports, an M142 High-Mobility Artillery Rocket System, HIMARS, launcher from the Army's 17th Field Artillery Brigade actually fired the missile. During the live-fire training event, a U.S. Air Force MC-130J Commando II Special Operations Tanker/transport aircraft was used to swiftly transport the HIMARS to its firing location. The test also received support from elements of the U.S. Marine Corps and the Australian military. First Lieutenant Joseph McChrystal said in a video about the Army ATACMS launch, "So the Air Force allows us to load up on their birds to get to where we need to be and to put our HIMARS in a position that we can provide the long-range, accurate fires and destroy the target." He added, "HIMARS offers you a long-range capability with speed, accuracy, and precision." While the U.S. Army and Marine Corps have been Army ATACMS users for decades now, the Australian forces are set to acquire them. In May 2022, Australia ordered 20 M142 HIMARS launchers for the Australian Army, with 10 M57 Army ATACMS unitary rockets and other MLRS munitions in a $545 million Australian dollar or $385 million American dollar contract. The background is important here. In June 2020, in a speech to the Australian Defence Force Academy in Canberra, Scott Morrison, who was then the Prime Minister of Australia, said his country must face the reality that we have moved into a new and less benign strategic era, indirectly citing the Chinese threat. It's interesting to note that relation was cordial, but this changed since President Xi Jinping became the leader. The situation became worse after Australia asked for a free and fair probe into coronavirus origin, and China retaliated with a higher tariff on Australian goods and import restrictions. China had even threatened Australia with military actions. Army ATACMS is a surface-to-surface missile, SSM, manufactured by the U.S. defense company Lockheed Martin. Army ATACMS is 13 feet or 4 meters in length and 24 inches or 610 millimeters in diameter and weighs 3,690 pounds or 1,670 kilograms. Powered by a solid propellant, it has a range of up to 190 miles or about 300 kilometers and a flight ceiling of 30 miles or approximately 50 kilometers. The primary launch platforms for Army ATACMS are the M270 Multiple Launch Rocket System, MLRS, and the M142 HIMARS, which can be loaded with 2 or 1 of these missiles at a time, respectively. An Army ATACMS launch container has a lid patterned with 6 circles, like a standard MLRS rocket lid, but contains only 1 missile. The identical pattern makes it more challenging for enemy intelligence to single it out as a high-value target. It has GPS-aided inertial navigation for guidance. Due to its ballistic nature and high speeds of more than Mach 3 during the terminal phase of flight, Army ATACMS is difficult to intercept when compared to other types of missiles, like subsonic, air-breathing cruise missiles. Army ATACMS has several variants which have different types of payload: submunition warhead, unitary warhead, etc. The footage and images of the missile impacting Bradshaw Field Training Area in Australia's Northern Territory seem to be that of a version with a unitary, high-explosive warhead. The missile also reportedly flew approximately 260 kilometers or 161.5 miles to the target area. While Ukraine requested Army ATACMS for the HIMARS, it was not provided. As per a tweet from the Kyiv Independent, it's noted that in a briefing on July 22nd, U.S. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said that U.S. President Joe Biden is not prepared to provide Ukraine with Army ATACMS. Sullivan stated that, while providing the necessary resources to support and defend Ukraine remains a key goal of the U.S., another key goal is to ensure we do not end up in a circumstance where we're heading down the road towards a Third World War. This clearly demonstrates what the U.S. feels about Army ATACMS. The Defense Strategic Review of Australia has carefully emphasized the importance of long-range fires as a key recommendation, as it's focused on addressing the significant threat posed by China. As part of the plan, Canberra is working to increase its standoff strike capabilities overall, including with the planned acquisition of air-launched AGM-158B Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile Extended Range JASSM-ER, and sea-launched Tomahawk cruise missiles. Army ATACMS will fit perfectly into this strategy. HIMARS was designed so that it could be accommodated in C-130 Hercules. The Royal Australian Air Force, RAAF, already operates its own Hercules and will be expanding the fleet in the coming years. This will help with the transportation of HIMARS. HIMARS are themselves mobile and have decent cross-country capability. This means that a preemptive strike to destroy these will be very hard to execute. So it can be said that Army ATACMS armed HIMARS will be a lethal addition to the Australian arsenal.
Subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your feedback in the comment section. This will help us improve.